This small country store behind me, with a customary crowd of idlers on the front porch, or stoop, as the South Africans call it, might be found in any small rural American community. But the dirt road that runs parallel to this small country store marks the beginning of the location in the town of Nelspruit, the African location where natives are forced to live. Nelspruit, a small mining town in the northern Transvaal, has for the past week been the focus of the racial tension in South Africa. It started with a protest march by some 400 native women on the police station. The women have long been more militant in their resistance to apartheid laws in South Africa than have been their menfolk. And in Nelspruit this week, the African woman has suddenly become the focal point of resistance to the nationalist government. Nelspruit on the surface this rainy, humid day looks as quiet as that scene on that rustic front porch of the store. But in reality, Nelspruit is still tense after a week of trouble. Big trouble and violence, even in South Africa. I asked for permission this morning to go inside the location at Nelspruit and make this film. We were told that there's been trouble there lately, and they'd rather not have any Europeans go inside. This, then, is our next recourse. What is behind the firm, continued refusal of African women to accept passes?
Well, the passes have been enforced in South Africa for a very long time amongst the men. And it has become very clear that the pass system in South Africa is the basis of forced and cheap labor. Now, to impose such a system on the African women is to create hardships. Firstly, African women will have to produce these passes on demand. If they fail to do so, they will be arrested in the streets, they will be stopped at stations, they will be stopped as they visit one another in the locations, and if they haven't got those passes, they will be immediately arrested and brought before the court. Now, African men who value their women just as any other people value their women, say what will happen to their children.
Ladies, why was the Black Sash formed in the first place?
Well, the Black Sash was formed in the first place because the nationalist government introduced the Senate bill into Parliament. It was a bill to expand the size of the Senate to almost double the size of its original size.
And you fear that this would do what?
Well, we felt that it was a legal trick, or we didn't know whether it was legal then, but we felt it was a piece of trickery and against the spirit of the Constitution.
What has been the official government reaction to your protests of mourning?
The government have ridiculed us for mourning. They don't understand, or say they don't understand, why women should stand mourning a constitution. They think we would be much better staying at home and looking after our children.
And obviously you both disagree.
Well, we think that we do look after our children.
We feel very much that this is looking after our children, because after all, it's the future of our children we're worried about. If I had no children, I don't think my interest would be nearly as keen.
In this connection, it's been said that the South African woman, the white woman, occupies a privileged position in the world because of the abundance of servants and cheap labor here. Wouldn't this somehow conflict with what you're trying to do, arouse women to a protest?
Yes, it does. I think that we are very privileged women in that we are not tied to the kitchen sink as so many women are in other parts of the world. And I think that is all the more reason why women should play their full part in the duties of an individual in a democracy. We feel that democracy cannot work unless every individual knows what her obligations are in a democracy.
But I think you're putting the standard of morals very low if you reckon that we are going to go on supporting apartheid just in order to keep our servants.
One final question. Being very realistic, how soon can you hope to take off that Black Sash?
Well, I'm afraid not in our lifetime.
We all saw the march, right? Okay, Debbie, they went to Eastern Cape. Was it successful?
Hi guys. Today I just wanted to entertain you all because we are born with why entertainment. So Usisi claims that the march failed. Of course it failed. I'd say the same thing too if I was married to a Nigerian who runs a brothel and drugs have been found at that brothel. Why don't you tell them, Sissy? Why don't you tell them it's the reason you are so obsessed with March and me is because your husband is a Nigerian that you gave citizenship to, and that's why you run a brothel with your husband, and drugs have been found there at once upon a time. Tell the whole story, Mama.
We all saw the march, right? Okay, Debbie, they went to Eastern Cape. Was it successful? No. Why am I saying that?